Hello, today we're going to talk about 3.1, measures of central tendency. So to review from chapter 1, we're going to start with what is a statistic. Okay, so a statistic is a characteristic or measure obtained from a sample. So how I remember this: statistic S, sample S, and a parameter is a characteristic or a measure obtained by using data values from a population. I remember this: parameter, population. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the mean. Okay, so another name for the mean is the average. Okay. So to find the average, we know how to do that probably. We know how to add things up and then divide by how many there are, and that gives us the average. Okay, so again, that's just the definition of the mean. It's the sum of the observations divided by the total number of observations. So we have some special notation. So little n is the sample size. Capital N is the number in the total population, or the population size. Okay, so sample mean is going to be represented by the symbol, which we call X bar. Okay, and it's just the sum of the data divided by the sample size. Okay, and we symbolize this as this guy means sum of. Okay, so the sum of the data values divided by the sample size. Okay, and population mean is symbolized by the Greek letter mu. Okay, it's kind of like a cursive EM. Okay, and it's the sum of the data divided by the population size. Okay, so again, sum of the data values divided by capital N, which is the population size. Okay, so we're going to try this example. Find the mean of the following data. Okay, so to find the mean of the data, we're just going to add them up and divide by how many there are. Okay, so if we add these all up and divide by how many there are, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data values. Okay, so we get, take a minute and add the top using the calculator. Okay, we should get 121 divided by 6. Okay, which gives us, let's say we went around to 3 decimal places, so 3.167 if we round to 3 decimal places. Okay, so if this was a sample mean, we're going to use X bar, and X bar would be 20.167. If this was a population mean, we would use mu and say mu is 20.167. Okay. So make sure you pay attention to the rounding directions in my math lab or my stat lab and in the test, okay, because it will tell you what to round to. Okay, so it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, so just make sure you pay attention to that. Okay. The next measure of central tendency is the median. So median is the midpoint, okay, or the middle of the observations when the data is ordered from smallest to highest, okay, the middle number, okay. So we must order our data first, okay. So if there's an even number in your data set, there's going to be 2 numbers in the middle, and you find the average of them. If there's an odd number in your data set, you'll only have 1 number in the middle, okay, and that will be your median, okay. So for this first data set, we ask ourselves, okay, are they in order? And yes, they are. Okay, so then I can just start crossing off the ends. Okay, and I get 1 number in the middle, so my median is 20. Okay, or I can use the letter M, is 20, and there is no distinction between population and sample median. Okay, so this next one, we ask ourselves, are they in order? And no, they're not, so I got to do that first. Okay, so if I reorder them, I get 2, 11, I like to cross them off as I reorder them, 13, 14, 16, 18, that way I don't miss any. Okay, okay, so then we can start crossing off. Okay, and I have 2 numbers in the middle now. Okay, so I'm going to add them up and divide by 2 because there's 2 numbers. Okay, so 13 plus 14 divided by 2 is 13.5. So my median is 13.5. Okay, I know it's hard to see the decimals on this. Okay. Okay, so the next measure of central tendency is the mode. It's the number or numbers that occurs the most frequently in the data set. Okay, so specifically we can have no mode, we can have one mode, which we call unimodal, we can have two modes, which we call bimodal, or we can have two or more modes, which we call multimodal. Okay, so if I look at this first set of data, okay, I have two 19s, two 20s, a 21, and a 22. So because 19 and 20 occur the most, because they occur twice each, my modes are 19 and 20, and we call that bimodal. Okay. What do you think about this next one? Okay, 19, 20, 20, 21, 22. Okay. So 20 occurs twice, everything else occurs once. Okay, so my mode is 20. Since there's one mode, we call that unimodal. Okay. And I want you to take a minute and try the last two. Pause your video and try them. Okay, so this third example, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, none of them occur more than once. They each occur once. Okay, so I have, sorry about that, no mode. Okay. My last example, okay, if I look at this, okay, here's a 5, here's a 5, here's a 5, so I have 3 5s, but here's an 8, and an 8, and a 9, and a 9. Okay, so is my mode 5, 8, and 9, or just 5? Take a moment and think about it. Okay, so mode is the number that occurs the most. Okay, so my mode is 5. Okay, because it occurs 3 times, the other ones only occur twice. Okay, so sometimes we get mode confused for anything that occurs more than once. Okay, but it's the thing that occurs the most. So 5 occurs the most, so it is the mode. So mode for qualitative data, so things that are in categories, okay, it's the category with the highest frequency. So if we have a frequency distribution and we found our categories and our frequencies, then we can very easily see that. Okay, so to help us, if we have a larger set of data, you might want to make a frequency distribution. Okay, so I want you to try this next example. The following are the injuries seen by a physical therapist in the last month. What is the most common injury? It's just asking for the mode, which one occurs the most. Okay, so take a moment and do that. Pause your video. Okay, so if I look at this, knee occurs 4 times, which is the one that occurs the most. So knee is my mode. Okay. So we want you to explain what it means for a statistic to be resistant on pages 122 to 123 of the ebook. Okay, so distribution shape and central tendency is our next topic in this section. So we should recall what a normal bell-shaped curve looks like. Okay, it is bell-shaped. It has one peak in the middle. Okay, so if we look at this curve, mode is what occurs the most. So it happens where the peak is. Median is in the middle. Okay, so the middle of my data is where the mode occurs, or the median occurs, sorry. Okay, and then it also happens that my mean is also roughly in that same place. Okay, so for a normal bell-shaped distribution, my mean, median, and mode are all roughly the same and located at the center of the distribution. Okay. For a curve that is skewed to the right, okay, remember that means our tail trails off to the right. Okay, our order goes in the middle, or sorry, not in the middle, where our peak is the mode. What's in the middle? Always the median. And our mean is going to be somewhere over here. Okay. Why is the mean over there, do you think? Okay, so these high values over here, pull your mean this way. Pull your mean up. Because if you add higher numbers to a sum, it's going to inflate your mean. Okay. Okay, our last shape is skewed to the left. Again, the values mean the data trails off to the left. Okay, so let's think about this. What happens at the peak? Our mode. What happens in the middle? The median. Okay, then our mean is going to be pulled lower because the values trail off to the left. Okay, so they're lower values, so it's pulling my data down. Okay, so we will have an activity for 3.1 in class. Please come with any questions that you have over the material in the video. Thank you.